Hello, welcome to another video from EarnPED.com. I'm Stevie B. Happy to have you all with me today. I am still grinding out some Longtooth for Migration 2023. And guys, I've been busy shooting a ton of videos. As you guys know, I'm working on video series for each of the Planet Partners, which will be in their own Planet Partner-based playlist. I'm also working on a new guide that I think is going to be a real game changer for a lot of players. So I have been banging out dozens and dozens and dozens of videos over the past couple of weeks. I just haven't actually released any to you guys yet. And I will talk more about that later. But today I want to make a video and get it out there for you guys because it's a video that we should have made by now. It's a subject that we should have covered by now to help people better understand the subject matter by now. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to it sooner. So first of all, what is the subject of today's video? Well, let's take some big sips to get us started. Ooh, nice and hot, brand new pot of coffee. So we talk about skills a lot. We also talk about professions a lot. As you guys know, I'm on a journey to hit level 55 Evader and unlock a hidden skill called quickness. And the reason that's so important is quickness is a 9% contribution to the Evader profession. But what do we mean by that? We say that a lot. We say this skill contributes this amount to this profession. But what do we mean by that when we say this skill contributes this amount to this profession? So before we get to that, let's back up and talk about what we already know so that we can make sense of this entire idea of contributing to a profession. So we know that we have two different things in game. We know that we have skills, which we can usually see are awarded under our system tab. Like I just gained 0.0458 experience in my wounding skill. So my wounding skill just increased a little bitty bit. And we get skills as we do various things in game. We can know that if we hit K, we can see our skills. We also know that if we hit P, we can see our professions. And professions are essentially our quote-unquote level. We know that professions control what we're able to do in game. Places we're able to go, things we're able to interact with, but most importantly, to what degree, I guess I should say, we're able to use certain items. So can we use a weapon to its full potential, or can we not use a weapon at all? Can we use it somewhere in between? So professions decide to what degree we can use different things like blueprints or mining finders, weapons, stuff like that. Weapons would be the one that most people would be familiar with. So we know all of this, and then we can even take it a step further and we can say that we understand that not every single skill point is equally valuable. So I just got several skills right there together. I gained 0.0214 courage, 0.1326 electrokinesis, another 0.0663 in electrokinesis. So we know that not every skill point is worth the same. In fact, skill points are worth different amounts. And we know that that's true because skills can be chipped out. We can sell our skills. We can take them out of our avatar and turn them into PED, selling them on the open market. These skills all have value. And we know that it gets harder to gain skills as you go. Each skill point is worth more than the point before it, less than the point after it. And I think most players at this point, if you're watching our videos, you probably also understand that the way we convert this to a standardized measure is with skill implants. Empty skill implants, ESIs, can be used to take skills out of an avatar. The chipping out process is very complicated. You don't want to chip out with less than a 10 TT chip because it will break. You'll lose a ton of markup. You also want to be aware that you lose 10% of the skills that you extract, stuff like that. So it's a fairly in-depth thing that you want to really have a handle on before you try and chip skills out. But chipping in is easy. You just grab a chip off auction and you insert it into your avatar. Bada bing, bada boom, your skills go up, right? But how do we standardize the value of these skills since each skill point is worth more than the one before it, less than the one after it? Well, these skill implants are what standardizes the value of skills. And the reason that happens is because an implant doesn't tell you how many points of a skill is on the implant. It tells you the PED value in terms of TT value of the implant. So let's say we had a brand new account and that account had 0 points of any skill at all. And that player went to auction and bought a 10 PED TT rifle implant. they then eat that implant. They're going to go from 0 skills of rifle to about 1900 skill points of rifle. Now, I'm not talking about what it's doing to their profession. I'm just talking about the skill points itself. If they hit K, they're going to go from 0 to about 1900 by eating a 10-PED TT implant. However, for an experienced player like me, I've already got over 10,379 points of rifle skill. So if I eat that exact same 10-PED TT implant, I'm only going to gain 7 points. Now, conversely, I can get an empty implant and I can take 7 of my rifle points out to fill that 10-PED TT implant. I would still have 10,372 points. I can put it on auction and a new player can eat that implant, and that player will go from 0 skills to about 1900. Why? Because the TT value of the implant is what determines everything. It's the way that skill values are standardized. So it doesn't matter how many skills I have. It doesn't matter how many skills you have. What matters is the fact that since every skill point is worth more than the one before it, less than the one after it, the implants using this TT value system streamline everything and standardize everything so that I can take a certain value amount out, you can put a certain value amount in. Now, the benefits aren't going to be the same. Clearly, a new player is going to get vastly more benefit than I would. 1900 points is clearly a lot more than 7, but it's the value that we're looking at, that standardized value of the skill points. And I think most of us intuitively understand not only why that is, but why there's a need for that in game. I think that makes a lot of sense to most people. But we need to talk about all that to bring us to the point. I think where people get lost is in the next part, where people don't understand that when we say contribute to a profession, we're talking about something very, very specific. So the reason this even came up is I was on auction the other day. I am almost to level 55. I'm about to unlock quickness, guys. I'm at 54.92. So by the time I finish rank 23 on Longtooth, whenever I claim my codex rewards for rank 23, I will be blasting past level 55 evader. I will officially unlock quickness, and it has been quite a challenge to make it happen, but we are almost there. It'll probably be the next couple of days. So I was looking around on auction, and I was trying to see if there were any implants for quickness skill for sale. Reason being is I was considering eating a small implant of quickness as soon as I unlock it to automatically give me a little bit of a boost. I'm going to have 0 skill points of quickness when I finally do unlock the skill. So if I could get a little 10-PED TT quickness implant, that would take me to roughly 1900 skill points of quickness. That's a pretty good jump right out the gate. And I was looking at it, and that would be the equivalent of about 1.9 levels of evader. So if I was able to unlock quickness, eat a 10-PED TT implant, and go from 0 skill points to 1900-ish skill points, I would also instantly go from level 55 evader to 56.9, a pretty significant jump. And that is because of this theory of contributing to a profession. So I came up with a good analogy because I couldn't find an implant like that. The only one I could find was a implant that was about 52 PED, and it would only take me from 0 skill points to about 3600, which would only get me about 3.6 levels. So it would still get me more levels, but I would be paying 5 times the amount for less than 2 times the benefit. I would only be getting 3.6 levels for 5 times the cost versus 1.9 levels for 1 time the cost. So I did not end up getting that skill implant. Maybe I should have, maybe I shouldn't have, time will tell, but I didn't get it. But what I did come up with is this analogy to explain why the first implant would get me 1.9 levels, why the second implant would only get me 3.6, and this whole theory of contributing to a profession. So I call it the profession piggy bank. So for a moment, I want you to forget about Entropia altogether. I want you to imagine that I have a real-life piggy bank sitting in front of me. And I take out a piece of duct tape and I put it on the piggy bank, and with a Sharpie I write 25% contribution. So this is my quote-unquote skill piggy bank. Now, whenever I get my paycheck, my entire paycheck does not get to go into my piggy bank. I have expenses. I've got to pay my car insurance, I've got to pay my rent, I've got to pay my utilities, I might have groceries that I've got to go buy, stuff like that. So unfortunately, I can't just put all my money into my piggy bank. Wish I could. Doesn't work that way, right? So instead, what I've decided to do is by putting this piece of duct tape on my piggy bank and writing 25% contribution, I am committing myself that whenever I get my paycheck, the very first thing I'm going to do is take 25% of my paycheck and I'm going to stick it in my piggy bank. Now the other 75% of my paycheck, that might go to pay my utilities, my rent, my auto insurance, whatever, but I'm going to commit to essentially a savings plan of 25%, right? Okay, so this is very, very similar to what we mean when we say that a skill contributes to a profession. The profession is the skill piggy bank. Just because you get skill points does not mean that everything that you're getting via those points is growing your profession. So as an extreme example, let's take a brand new account. This account has 0 skills across the board, but let's say this player had a ton of money and they sat at auction and they just bought up every evade implant known to man. So they just kept buying evade implants and eating them, buying them and eating them, and they did not stop until they grew their evade skill to 10,000 points dead on. Now evade, the skill, has a 25% contribution to evader, the profession. So in this theoretical scenario where this player did nothing but eat evade skill implants over and over until they had 0 skills across the board, but they had 10,000 points of evade skill, 10,000 points when they hit K and go to evade. So imagine that they're looking at this right here, their skills, and evade says 10,000 right on the money, and everything else was zeroed out. If they were able to do that, their evader profession would be level 25. Why is that? Why isn't it level 100? Because evade skill gives you a 25% contribution to the evader profession. So let's say that they were to do this with something like quickness. So my example, so quickness is not actually a 10% contribution, it's a 9%, but I use 10% because it's a pretty round number and it's pretty close, so it's easy to ballpark it. So once I unlock it, I will have 0 skill points of quickness, but I will be exactly level 55 evader, profession level, right? So if I was to eat a skill implant of 10 PED TT, that gives me about 1900 points. 1900 points, roughly 10% is contributing to the profession. 10% of 1900 would be 1.9 when we convert it all, right? So we do the conversion, we end up at 1.9. So I would grow 1.9 levels, because if we took this out, if we extrapolated it to 10,000 points, at 10,000 points of quickness, that is making up 9 of my evader levels. So if it was a 100% contribution, 10,000 points would be 100 levels. It's not a 100% contribution. No skill is. It's a 9% contribution. So if I had 10,000 points, I would have 9 levels. So if I have 1,900 points, I've got roughly 1.9 levels. Now, this is where my problem came in. I could have gotten a 52 PED TT implant. It would have cost me 5 times as much. But because skill points are worth more than the one before, less than the one after, it would have only taken me from 0 points to 3,600. So again, if 10,000 skill points would have gotten us 9 levels, 3,600 skill points would have gotten us 3.6. About a 10% contribution, 9% actually, but about 10%, right? So because of that, it would have only taken me from level 55 to 58.6. So I would be getting less than twice the reward, but with 5 times the cost. And this is what we mean when we talk about a skill contributing to a profession. If we have 10,000 skill points in this skill, how many levels of that profession is that accounting for? Well, if I've got 10,000 skill points of evade, and evader has a 25% contribution to the evade profession, then whenever I hit 10,000 skill points of evade, that means 25 of my evader levels are coming strictly from my evade skill. So if I have 10,000 skill points of quickness and it's a 9% contribution, then 9 of my levels of evade or evader would be coming from the quickness alone. Now, unfortunately, the reality of the situation is that nobody's skill points are that dead on and that even. You're not just going to magically have 10,000 across the board or 10,000 in this one and 5,000 in this one. We've always got these weird numbers, but that's why the math is done behind the scenes. And that's why whenever we see even small skill awards come across the screen, we do, even at higher levels, still see the needle on the profession move. Unfortunately, though, there's no skill that gives a 100% contribution. That would be too easy. The game wouldn't be super grindy then, right? Imagine if evade the skill was a 100% contribution to evader the profession. Once you got 10,000 skill points of evade, you would have a level 100 evader. Wouldn't that be amazing? But here's the problem. It actually wouldn't work as well, because skills do not just contribute to one profession. That's actually exceedingly rare. What is actually more common is most skills contribute to multiple professions. Now, in the real life example of my paycheck and my piggy bank, the reason I can only put so much in my piggy bank is because the rest has to go to bills like car insurance, rent, stuff like that, right? And I know there's a lot of people sitting there saying, well, man, we're kind of getting shafted there, because that means the amount that it's not contributing, that's just fluff. It's just in the air. It's not like in real life where it's going to do something else. It's just in the ether. So what's the point of even having a contribution system like that? Wrong. You're not taking into account that the skills contribute to more than one profession. So yes, I might have a skill that only contributes 5% to the evader profession. And yeah, that sucks, because that means whenever I have 10,000 points of that skill, it's only making up 5 of my evader levels. But all the rest of those points, all the rest of those 95 levels that theoretically could be out there if we move the needle to 100% contribution, they're not just gone into the ether. You know where they show up? In other professions. It's like having a magical piggy bank that instead of putting the penny in and it just being a penny that's there that's being saved, it's like you put it in and it spreads itself across multiple piggy banks. Or more accurately, it's more like I take multiple piggy banks and I write down multiple percentage contributions to multiple professions, and then instead of putting everything in one piggy bank, I spread it out. So let's say that I lived in a world where I had no expenses, no rent, no car payment, no groceries. Everything on earth that I needed was provided for me, no charge. I could take my entire paycheck and I could just do whatever I wanted with it. I could save the entire thing. Well, I could put it all into one piggy bank that says 100% contribution. Or I could get a whole bunch of piggy banks. And on this piggy bank, I might write 25% contribution evader. And I might put 25% of my paycheck into that piggy bank. And then this next piggy bank, I might put 5% contribution animal looter. And I put 5% of my paycheck into that piggy bank. And then I get another piggy bank and I put 5% contribution mutant looter. And I put 5% of my paycheck in there. And then I get another piggy bank and I put 3% contribution robot looter. So the reason that it's okay that the skills don't have a 100% contribution, a 1-to-1 ratio, is because that exact same skill is oftentimes spread over multiple different professions. It is not unusual when you go to the wiki and you are researching a skill and you go, okay, well, what professions does this skill really contribute to? It's not unusual to see an extremely long list of professions, and you're like, man, this skill contributes to just about everything. Prime example, anatomy. Look up how much stuff anatomy actually goes into. How many of these skill piggy banks are actually out there for anatomy? In fact, I'll do it right here on the video with you guys. We're going to go to the wiki. We're going to look up anatomy skill. Animal Looter, 7%. Biotropic, 4%. Brawler, 20%. Cryo Damage, 17. Electric, 17. Grenadier, 18. Humanoid Investigator, 10. Knife Fighter, 20. Mutant Investigator, 4. Mutant Looter, 7. One-Handed Clubber, 20. Paramedic, 13. Pyro Damage, 17. Ranged BLP Damage, 20. Gauss Damage, 20. Laser Damage, 20. Plasma Damage, 20. Swordsman Damage, 20. Tier Upgrader, 4. Two-Handed Clubber, 20. Whipper, 20. So that is a ton of piggy banks. That means that, yes, okay, there's some skills where we kind of get shafted, I'll admit that, and maybe the skill only contributes to one single profession, and maybe it's at a pretty reduced rate. So, great example, this would be something like Bioregenesis. Bioregenesis is a very important skill. It's the Mind Force equivalent of your healing skill. It would be very, very similar to your, I don't know, like your medicine skill or your first aid skill whenever it came to regular fapping. Biotropic is the Mind Force equivalent of that. Okay, it literally, Bioregenesis literally only contributes to the biotropic profession. It is the one and only profession it contributes to, and the contribution is 45%. So if I had no biotropic skills at all, if I had no Mind Force healing skills at all, and I went out and I ate 10,000 PED, if I ate 10,000 skill points worth of Bioregenesis, so I went from 0 skill points of Bioregenesis to 10,000 points, and I had no other Mind Force skills whatsoever, my Bioregenesis skill at a 45% contribution would then raise my biotropic profession to level 45. Now, yes, that other 55 theoretical levels, it's just gone. They're not there because it's not 100% contribution. And unfortunately, biotropic is the only profession that bioregenesis contributes to. However, skills like this that have a very high contribution amount but only contribute to literally one profession, that's exceedingly rare. What is more common is for the skill to have a smaller contribution amount, 5, 8, 10% contribution, but to contribute to a variety of professions. So it's like living in a world where, no, you may not have rent or auto insurance or anything like that or need to go buy groceries, but you take your paycheck and instead of putting it all in one piggy bank, you spread your paycheck out across multiple piggy banks. And there are rare instances like anatomy where you actually get even more utility. If you went through and added up all the percentages I just named off for anatomy, notice that that would equal a lot more than 100, right? So that would actually be more than a quote-unquote full paycheck, because even though there are some skills like bioregenesis that under-contribute, there are other skills like anatomy that vastly over-contribute. So I know it's a weird system, I know it's a little bit hard to get your head around, but the easiest way is to think about it is to think to yourself, okay, if I had 10,000 skill points in this skill and only this skill, what would my professional level be? So the example I've been giving you guys, brand new player, no skills in the account, suddenly has 10,000 points of evade as a skill. Now he suddenly has a level 25 evader because evade, the skill, is 25% of the evader profession. So if you guys will think of contribution when we say this skill contributes in terms of the skill piggy bank, in terms of there being multiple piggy banks so the same skill can contribute to multiple professions, and if you will think of it in terms of a brand new account with 0 points in every single skill that then just suddenly ate enough implants to get to 10,000 skill points in this skill, and think how would that affect the professional level. Yeah, I would go from professional level 0 to professional level contribution amount, then I think it will help you guys out. And I think there's a lot of people that have just missed this entire concept of a skill contributing and what that really means, how it really affects everything. So I wanted to put that out there. Unfortunately, I have not yet been able to find my 10-PED TT quickness implant. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I would love to get a 1.9 evader level boost pretty much right out the gate. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but was it worth it to spend 5 times the money on a 52 PED TT implant to get 3,600 points and grow my evader skill by 3.6 levels for 5 times the cost. No, I couldn't reasonably make that justifiable. Now, again, maybe later on I will wish I would have, I'm sure, because it's only going to get more grindy from here, but at least it gave me this concept of the skill piggy bank, and hopefully that makes skills, professions, and what we mean by the word interact, contributing, how these skills interact with these professions and help grow them. Hopefully it will, if nothing else, make that more clear for you guys. So guys, I will leave it there for today's Sip Sip Smack Smack. Like I said, we've got a ton of stuff coming, playlists for every single Planet Partner that's out there, a lot of guides that are coming that are going to be tremendously beneficial, give you guys a whole bunch of great opportunities that are in game right now as we speak to help you play smarter, not harder, and more profitably. Can't forget that. So guys, head over to EarnPED.com, because when you earn, we earn. It's by far the best way you guys can help support us. Simply use the links on EarnPED.com to go to Hideout.tv. They will automatically add us as a redemption option for your points. Guys, please hit all 3 of those buttons as YouTubers talk about. When you hit subscribe and the bell icon, you only have to do it once. It's absolutely free. It takes literally 1 second, and you will be kept up to date with all of our latest content. But then if you guys will take the extra step of hitting the like button on every video and then commenting on those videos, not only will it help us fight the trolls, but YouTube will put us on the right side of the YouTube algorithm. They will start showing these videos to more people who are interested in PC gaming, MMOs, real cash economy gaming. And a lot of times it's the first time the person's ever been introduced to Entropia. They start watching the channel, they start watching the videos, learning how to play smarter, not harder. Next thing you know, they download the game, they start their journey at Camp Icarus. They're often North Swamp camp hunting Exosource for Blazer fragments. They start chasing markup, and these people end up joining societies. They end up being our friends, our trading partners. And we're getting more and more messages every single week from people just like that saying, man, YouTube showed me your video one day and I was hooked, and I've been into Entropia ever since. Well guys, we want to pass that information on to you, because you guys are the ones getting these videos in front of people by hitting that like button, by hitting that subscribe button. So I want you guys to understand you are making an impact on the game, the community, and the economy, and people really truly appreciate it, us included. So please keep it up. Till next time, sip sip smack smack, y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.